Hey, this is Reverend Casey Carroll. I'm here at the Palazzo in Venice, and behind me are the actual cuneiform tablets that they had from ancient Ur in Mesopotamia. And you can see how they had to where it would roll on it, so part of it was like a seal, so they could make the same one on these clay tablets. What was interesting about the cuneiform was the idea that it tells. And so when you look through it, what you end up seeing is it actually almost sounds like a story of genetics within Will. And so what they end up speaking about it, and you can see it within the pictures, and I'll add some to this, but it ends up showing that there was a worker caste system, and then it's almost as though they created man, where they get Adam from, to actually as a servant class. And so it was built up as a servitude for the gods. And so when you look at the history of it, you can actually see that generally it talks about them designing this. And so you see this almost the Anunnaki is what it was called. And the Anunnaki is being the ones that were actually creating this and then actually brought, and they used it looks like this giant, technically it's like the pineal gland. And they end up taking consciousness, pineal gland, and adding that to human beings. So they gave us the opportunity to have that understanding and knowledge. I thought it was interesting as I was looking at the living creatures in the Bible, and I was like, well, what if you ended up playing with those genetics with, say, a lion or a serpent or a bull? But it was generally some of the first what they say as far as altered genetics. And so you can see it within the text how they outline it. And then what the first thing they did after learning to write with the cuneiform was create fermentation. And so they used the alcohol as an ability to be able to control the populace further. And so what you end up seeing is that ultimately they ended up using first history to be able to write a written record of everything that was going on. And then also, once they had that, then they ended up adding and supplementing to the being able to record the information with different power structures to control the population, namely food and alcohol, and then later currency. So they would end up using that money to control a tribal culture, as well as the workforce. And generally what we see in society today is the same thing goes on. We have to conform to the laws of society, to have a job, to work these hours, to generally slave multiple hours a day, to support a power structure that exists higher than that of 99.9% of the population, so that the 0.01% of the population is in extravagant access. And so it was excess that they have in goods and monetary wealth and power. And so generally this comes all the way back into that initial setting forth that you find within Ur. Interesting to me is that Abraham actually came from there. And so what you see is that from Terah, the king that was over him wanted to kill his son, Abraham. He sent him to Noah, where you get the Melchizedek, actually king of righteousness, and they say it was Shem who set forth and ended up giving an understanding for all this. And so they used that and ended up actually creating Israel to where you had a new power structure that was given through the Judaic line and then the redemption of mankind through Christ. And so setting forth for 1,000-year reign, because you see an absolute equality amongst mankind, and also being able to take out and destroy that evil. And so ultimately, what you end up seeing is that this was all set forth within these social structures in the caste system and the social stratification of the caste system that was first set forth right here in Mesopotamia through these very, very interesting cuneiform texts. And so with that, just a brief look at history.